This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Good evening, everyone. It's Ham Talk Live, episode number 277. A talk with Don Wilbanks, AE5DW, recorded live on Thursday, October 21st, 2021. I am your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Don Wilbanks, AE5DW, and we'll take your calls a little later in the show. Last week, here on Ham Talk Live, we had Michael Coulter, W8CI from Hamvention, and W4ORL, Michael Colley, and Mark Brown, N4BCD, from Orlando and Huntsville Hamfests, respectively. And they were here to talk about the challenges of the Hamfests running in a pandemic. So if you missed that show, you can listen anytime over at hamtalklive.com or on your favorite podcast app. And you can also listen to us on YouTube. And don't forget, you can catch the rebroadcast of Ham Talk Live every Saturday afternoon at about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time over on shortwave on WTWW. That's 5085 on your AM dial. So, we'll talk to Don here in a little bit. So if you have some questions or comments, feel free to give us a call a little later on in the show. If you're listening to us live on Thursday night, you can call us after the interview. Let me give you the phone number so you have it ready to go. You can punch it in, write it down, type it in, whatever you want, and have it ready to go. It's 859-982-7373. Again, the phone number is 859-982-7373. You can also tweet us. We're at Ham Talk Live on Twitter. And if you're logged into Spreaker, you can type into the comments. So, hope to hear from you tonight, and I'll be back with Don right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Hey, honey, have you seen the PL259s anywhere?
No, I haven't. Come on, kids. Let's go. There's just one place to go for all of your connector needs.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
A giant warehouse of connectors and adapters for every occasion. Thousands to choose from in every shape, size, and color. And they have antennas, soldering supplies, cables, meters, and more. Where do you go if you want to buy a connector at a fraction of retail cost?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
And this weekend only, take advantage of our special liquidation sale. Buy 9 solder-type PL259s, get the 10th one for just $1 penny. They make great Christmas presents. And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a PL259?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
I'm Scott, KB9AMM of Tower Electronics. I like the PL259 connectors so much, I bought the company.
Tower Electronics, coming to a Hamfest near you, or online at pl-259.com. And we're in the yellow pages under Amateur Radio Connectors.
My, wherever did you get that lovely PL259?
Tower Electronics, pl-259.com, or call 920-435-2973.
Do we sell PL259 connectors?
Who is the most dangerous person in the world? A ham with some wire, a potato gun, and an idea.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Tower Electronics will be at Chickasaw, Alabama on October 23rd. It's Mole Day for you chemistry fans out there. 10/23. And then Stone Mountain, Georgia, November 6th and 7th. Fort Wayne, Indiana, November 13th and 14th. Montgomery, Alabama, November 19th and 20th. Ocala, Florida, December 4th, and Plant City, Florida, December 10th and 11th. But you can visit them anytime at pl-259.com. So welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Tonight, Don Wilbanks, AE5DW, joins us on the Orlando Amateur Radio Club and Hamcation Hotline. Ham Radio's Don Wilbanks joins us from Picayune, Mississippi. You know him from Amateur Radio Newsline and from Ham Nation, and we'll talk about that and who knows what else tonight. We didn't have a real strict plan for tonight. So, Don, welcome back. Great to talk to you again.
Yeah, clearly you hit rock bottom again and invited me on. Here's what I want to know. Now, first off, I do not want you to explain to me Mole Day, because just the thought of a ham with a piece of wire, a potato gun, and an idea was enough to make my hair hurt. So I don't want to hear about Mole Day. I don't want to know. I thought it was some weird thing with maybe Groundhog Day, I don't know, local Alabama Chickasaw deal, but then you bring the whole chemistry thing, and at that point, I'm like, no, that's going to make stuff smoke, and it's probably going to come out of my ears, so I really don't want to hear about that. How you doing, Neil?
Yeah. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm excited because, I teach chemistry, and so I'm excited for Mole Day. It's kind of like Pi Day. You've heard of Pi Day, right?
I know about that, yeah.
On March 14th, because it's 3.14. Well, Avogadro's number is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd power. So it's 1023. So
I asked you specifically not to explain.
I know. I know.
What do you do?
And then I explained it.
This is why you can't get quality guests, Neil.
This is it.
This is why you have to resort to me.
Oh my goodness. So there we go.
So now the world knows.
Mole Day. Now the world knows. Yeah. There we go.
M-O-L-E, not M-O-L-D, as we have down here in the South.
Not moldy. Not moldy. It rhymes with moldy, but yeah. Right. Well, Don, it's been a while. It seems like every time we talk, we have some children with us, and we have to behave. So it's been a while since we've
children here. Besides those listening, are us, the childish adults, which is just fine. We're always around the young ham of the year or something, and we have to behave like upstanding,
exactly
whatever we tend to be.
So it's been a while since we've kind of gone outside of that realm. So there's been a lot of changes in your life. One of which is a move that happened at the beginning of the year with Ham Nation over to the Ham Radio Crash Course channel with our friend Josh over there. And so tell us how that's going with the move from Twit over to YouTube.
Well, it's been very interesting. First off, we found out back probably around October of last year, October, November, something around that time. It was about the same time I got fired from iHeart, which oddly enough. So forgive me if my brain is a little muddled from that at the end of, having to make a career change at my age. But anyway, that was when, the pandemic was it was hitting everything really hard, especially companies like broadcasters who lost all of a sudden 50 to 70% of their advertisers, and therefore 50 to 70% of their income. So, Leo Laporte and Twit was no different, and he being basically a small business, he owns that. It's not like he's a huge corporation like iHeart was or is. But yeah, so he had to get rid of some shows and unfortunately get rid of some people in order to keep the lights on over there. And Ham Talk or Ham Nation was one of those shows, which was consistently in the top 5 or 6 of what they call landed shows, which are shows that are not produced necessarily in-house through Twit and not hosted by Leo. Ham Nation was and is still owned by Bob Heil. He owns the show, and so it was an outside show produced by Twit. So anyway, that we were one of the ones that fell by the wayside. They canceled a lot of shows in order to keep the lights on over there, and it was just it's what happened with COVID. It's just like I said, it affected every company on the planet, and broadcasting was no different. So we weren't sure what was going to happen, and then thankfully, Ray Novak said he sent me an email, I believe email or private message or something, and he said, "What if I can find a way to keep Ham Nation on the air? Would you guys be willing to continue with that?" And I'm like, "Well, let's find out what you're talking about." And he said, "Well, Josh with Ham Radio Crash Course, we're going to move it over there." I'm like, "Okay, that'll be cool." We decided, since Josh already has quite a full plate with his own YouTube stuff, plus his job, he's an IT guy, we kind of all decided that we would do it every other week, at least for now, because remember, we were losing Bob Heil and we were losing George Thomas as well. So the show was going to have a completely different look and feel and everything else. So it was a major retooling, not only going to a different platform, but different production, with Twit no longer handling it and Josh doing it all basically live on the fly. He had to learn how to do that because, he has done his own live presentations, but it's just him. And all of a sudden he has an ensemble cast and video pieces to throw in there and live guests to bring in and this, that, and 17 other things to juggle. So we all learned how to do the show a different way while Josh learned how to do the show. And we all together, we figured it out. And so it has a slightly, pretty much the same format, slightly different look and feel. It definitely skews younger, just with having Josh as the main host. We miss Bob tremendously. Bob has been on a few times. He was on for the 500th episode, which is amazing that when you think about it, Ham Nation's been going for over 10 years. The first show was, I think, like a week after Dayton in 2011. So to have something like that was kind of started by Leo's idea of telling Bob when he came on one of his shows, like, "You've got to do a show about ham radio. You've got to. And Bob's like, "I don't have time to do that. I don't know. I don't know how to do that." He says, "Well, no, just, you got to do it." And so Leo talked him into it. Now here we are 10 years plus later, 505, 6, whatever it is, shows later, here we are, is pretty amazing. But yeah, so a lot of changes with Ham Nation,
Yeah,
a lot of stuff that's the same as well. And what I like about it is we have brought in Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB,
Yep.
who has always been one of my favorite guests. He's the kit building editor from CQ Magazine. So with losing George with Smoke and Solder, we have Joe now in like every other show, like once a month, to do kit building and show us a bunch of techniques like that. So yeah, it's been an interesting change. The show is taking on a new life. I think, like I said, it skews younger, and plus we have an entirely new audience who may not have ever heard of us now that we're on Josh's Ham Radio Crash Course YouTube platform. So it's been really good, I think.
Yeah, one story that Bob has told me, and I don't remember the exact number, but One of the stories he told me about Ham Nation was that when it first came on, and somebody had commented to him, "Well, what are you going to do after the first 20 shows? Because you're going to run out of material."
Yeah. Well,
and now you're over 500.
Over 500. Well, listen, as anybody knows, if you've been around ham radio for any length of time at all, there are so many different facets and elements to this hobby, service, whatever it is, that if you get bored in amateur radio, it's your own fault, because there's so many. I mean, you can do, microwave stuff. You can do VHF, UHF. You can do weak signal. You can do meteor scatter. You can do moon bounce. You can do satellites. You can do slow scan TV. You can do amateur TV with fast scan, full motion video. You can do DXing. You can do contest. You can county hunt. You can grid chase. You can just hang out on your local repeater and chat with your friends. You can do nothing but CW. You can do nothing but AM. I mean, you can on and on and on and on. If you get bored in this hobby, and so there's always going to be something new to talk about. Always, and plus with now, I mean, you have all these digital modes now, FT8 and everything else, which, a lot of people are divided by FT8. Some people love it. Some people think it's the death knell of amateur radio, much like a lot of people thought sideband would be back in the AM days. So it's constantly evolving and constantly changing, and there's always going to be something new to talk about in this hobby. So the fact that here we are 10 years and 500 and change episodes now, and we still have just barely scratched the surface of it, gives you some idea of the well to go to as far as subject material.
And I don't know, when I look back at 40 some years of 45, 6, whatever it is, of ham radio, it seems like I tend to go in cycles. So I'll be on repeaters, and I spent so many years working on repeaters and trying to link repeaters and do all this remote receiver stuff and do all of that kind of thing. And then, finally it came to the time where, okay, it's time to move on to something else. And so then all of a sudden, I get fired up about HF again, and then I get on HF and do a whole bunch. The one that I've added is the satellite thing, and I had to take some time off for the move and all the changes that happened this summer, but now I'm starting to get back on, maybe once a week or so at least, to get on satellite. But it seems like I just kind of go in spurts, when for a while I'll be on VHF, UHF, and then I'll go to HF, then I'll go to, digital or, and then it come back around to all of it again. So there's always something. And these new digital modes are popping up, all the time. Used to be you had, 4 or 5 and that was it. And hardly anybody ran those. It was always, 45 baud RTTY and that was it. And now there's a ton of them out there. In fact, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which one's which.
Yeah, I don't have the years in amateur radio that you do. I would have if I'd have gotten licensed back in 1975 when I was 15. Then I would have, I would have had a great deal more years in it than I do. But I got licensed in 95, and I remember, on the local repeaters, packet was the big deal.
Oh, yeah.
You got to get a KPC3, man. You got to do that, and you got to get on packet and check the bulletin board, and you can get email off packet and everything. And so that was the big deal. And then PSK31 came along, and I got involved in that a little bit, and I've played with RTTY a little bit and slow scan TV, and I've made a few contacts on FT8. It's interesting. I see people complain that, you just turn it on in the morning and you come back home after work and you've got your DXCC. Well, no, it's not exactly like there's a lot more I found, unless I'm doing it wrong. There's a lot more hands-on to FT8 than there is just turning on your computer and letting it fly.
Yeah.
But I have not completely embraced that, but I can see its usefulness, and it's just another mode, much in the same way that people get all cranked up about D-Star and DMR and Yaesu System Fusion. I saw some post on one of the Facebook amateur radio groups today is like, okay, if I connect to my hotspot using D-Star and make contact around the world, is that ham radio? Well, yeah, it is, because you're talking into a handy-talkie and you're accessing the internet via radio. Then I think that, and the person you're talking to is very likely listening maybe on a local repeater, or is listening via their own hotspot or whatever on a radio that has an RF link to it. And so, yeah, that's radio. And it's like somebody else said, everything is radio. Hell, your cell phone's radio.
Yeah, it is.
It's all radio. So to me, that stuff, that's just another mode. And, there's a lot of division in that. But you know what? Get on your radio. You do radio the way you want to do it. And don't worry about what everybody else says. As long as you're out there and you're having fun, you earned your license, you're using your privileges. If that's ham radio to you, then that works for me. That's ham radio. That's where I stand.
You mentioned bulletin boards, because the old packet bulletin boards, and I remember I wasted many, many, many hours of my childhood on teletype bulletin boards.
Yeah.
Would get on 40 meters, and these guys would have I think it was W4CN, if I remember right. And it had this huge bulletin board system. So you could send messages and stuff, but the big thing that I really got into with teletype is sending pictures. So what they would do is they would use letters on the keyboard.
Yeah.
And send it one line at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, I got a picture of one of the ones I remember is there was a picture of Abraham Lincoln.
All in ASCII characters. Yeah.
But it was all in ASCII characters, and it was the, oh my goodness, I can't, the names escape me. The 407 years ago.
Yeah, Gettysburg.
The Gettysburg Address. Yeah. It was the words of the Gettysburg Address.
Oh, that's interesting.
Shaped as President Lincoln's head.
That's kind of interesting.
And so I collected tons and tons and tons of stuff like that. I mean, pictures of Garfield the cat, and
right.
It's just, but I don't know how many hundreds of hours of my childhood got sunk into that, but it was fun.
Well, now, speaking of totally apropos, I mean, totally off subject, speaking of Abraham Lincoln and childhood, I can remember as a young kid, I'm talking like 3 or 4 years old, my mother had this big bucket full of pennies, and we would go through it, and I found a penny that it was Abraham Lincoln, but there was a pipe that had been, I don't know, struck into it. But it was Abraham Lincoln smoking a pipe. I don't know if you've ever seen these pennies or heard of them, but I found one, and I still have it. It's around here somewhere, and I have the newspaper clipping that my mother sent to the local newspaper, the Shawnee News Star in Shawnee, Oklahoma. They had a little blurb called Starology, which was like, local happenings and whatever. And it was like 3-year-old Don Wilbanks, the son of Archie and Lorraine Wilbanks, over at that was when they would publish your address on the front page of the paper. It's 1963, 64 for crying out loud. Over on Tucker Street, reports that their son Don found a penny with Abraham Lincoln smoking a pipe. And so I have that newspaper clipping around here somewhere. My mother cut it out with pinking shears, so it has the jagged edges, and I still have that. And here now it's it's almost 60 years old, and I scanned it and I I scanned it along with the penny, and I have an image of that. But yeah, so you're talking about Abraham Lincoln and childhood. That just brought that back. So completely off subject. But it's a cool memory. So. Thanks for triggering that. Yeah, it is cool stuff.
Yeah, a trip down memory lane. So
absolutely,
back when you had to walk to school uphill both ways through 10 feet of snow without any shoes in the middle of a hurricane and a Sharknado. So
exactly, that's right.
Yeah. There you go.
Exactly.
All right. Well, it's break time here, so we need to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little more about Young Ham of the Year and some other stuff. And who knows? And I see Mike Askins has even left a comment here. So who knows what we're in for? So
did he spell it all right?
Yeah, he did.
Wow. Must have been Karen.
I'll give you a sneak peek here. It's a Shawnee shout out.
There you go. Hey, Mikey. Yeah. My closest friend, my brother from another mother. We met in first grade. Love that guy. Love you, Mike.
KE5CXP and part of the Newsline family. So
proud.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Don Wilbanks, AE5DW, right after this word from ICOM. Right here on Ham Talk Live. Contest remotely or from the comfort of your own home. ICOM has the perfect base station ready for action. The IC9700, IC7610, and IC7300 SDR transceivers are top of the line and are the first choice for contesters across the globe. Robust base stations like these cut through pileups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts. Stay connected remotely with the RSBA One app and keep your competitive contesting edge with ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. IC7851 gives you a new window into the RF world and is HF excellence unparalleled. With faster processors, high input gain, high display resolution, and a cleaner signal, it is truly the pinnacle of HF perfection. It has dual receivers, digital IF filters, a memory key or digital voice recorder, a high-resolution Spectrum waterfall display, enhanced PC connectivity, and an SD card slot. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR can pick out the faintest of signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent ones. The IC7610 from ICOM is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. It has RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual Digicel. And the IC9700, you can create your own band opening with it. This transceiver radio brings direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to help keep you busy. Faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. It has a 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and waterfall smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels with dual watch operation and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
Join the conversation. Give us a call at 859-982-7373. Again, the number to call is 859-982-7373. Or, if you'd rather type than talk, tweet us at Ham Talk Live. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Here's the snap. Rapp takes the rig. He breaks through the pileup. He's on 80. Now 40. Now 20. 15. 10. 2 meters. Touchdown. Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. We're on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at hamtalklive.com, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All right, well, before we get back to Dawn and the phone lines here, we've already got calls and comments here, so we'll get through all of those in just a moment. But first, it is time, once again, And I've been saving this one because I said, you know, we had to behave, you know, most of the time, but I figured this would be the night to bring this one out. So strap in. Here we go. It's the N9 GSU joke of the week.
Now it's time for the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week, a part of the show where Rick tells us a ham radio joke. The Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week is brought to you by QRM Labs. Now, here's Rick Garrett in N9 GSU with today's Ham Talk Live Joke of the Week.
So one of my ham buddies showed up with a brand new HT, and I asked him, "Where'd you get that?" He said, "It's the strangest story. I was walking down the street, and this beautiful girl comes up carrying this radio, takes all of her clothes off, and says, 'You can have anything you want.' So I took the radio." I said, "Good thing, because her clothes probably would not have fit you anyway."
This has been the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week with Rick Garrett in N9 GSU. Tune in again next week for another joke from Rick.
Okay, I take it back. We had not quite hit rock bottom, but now
but we have now.
Well, no, not yet. We haven't.
Oh, wait.
Hit rock bottom yet.
That's right.
Paul Brown
is on the line. Yes.
GCO, as I refer to him as QR Paul, because I can never hear him on the air. Once he comes on, then we hit rock bottom.
Now we've hit rock bottom.
There we go. That's it.
There's no place to go but up.
Mark this time down. 9:32.
This is it. This is when the world ended.
Just when you thought the show couldn't suck more, I'm here.
We are.
Well, good evening, Paul. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
KE5DW.
Yeah. If we get Askins on here, that'd
be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Askin says Don's wasted youth on CB, and then the Shawnee shout out, and then says, "Love you, Don, and I really like you a lot, Neil."
Yeah.
So
you really just could have stopped with Don's wasted. That would have been that would have said it all anyway. So.
Well, Paul, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, you know, Don had mentioned about Ham Nation being on for, now a little bit over 10 years. And, Ham Nation is actually responsible for me getting back into ham radio, and unfortunately for you guys, also responsible for me being on Newsline. I got licensed in 77, and then, college happened, and then, condo and apartment life and everything. And I always kept my license current, but I only played on 2 meters a little bit here and there. And then when I heard that Bob was going to have a ham radio podcast, I thought, hey, I know Bob. I'll listen and see what it's like. And I started listening right away, and it got the interest going again. And I'm like, I've still got my radios all set up over here. Maybe I'll just put up an antenna and see if I still like ham radio. And turned out that I did. I mean, it woke everything back up. It's like, yeah, you know what? All the things I've tried over the years, this is the one hobby that has stuck with me my whole life. And again, and then when I heard Don mention about Bill passing away, I thought, well, I wonder if they could use some help. And I got some experience doing this stuff, so I emailed Don, and unfortunately he, lost his brain temporarily and said yes. But for me, the Newsline thing has also been part of my life forever, since back when I first started, and I belonged to Bob's Club down in Marissa, Illinois, and we would carry the Westlink report on our repeater every week. Somebody would bring up the auto patch and dial in, and we'd play Westlink. So I used to listen to the predecessor as a kid, and now I get to be an anchor, which is just, for me, really cool. Plus,
well, the reason that I said yes was because your salary demands were just exactly in line with what we were willing to pay, which is nothing.
which is good because you get 10% of that as my agent.
Yeah, and believe me, we're getting every penny's worth.
Absolutely, you are.
Now, you know, Paul and I have this, it seems like this adversarial relationship, but it's just because I love to dig at people, especially people who can take it and dish it right back. And so that's Paul, seriously. People listening probably think that, oh my God, what in the hell? Wilbanks must hate Paul. But dude, I think you're like the coolest guy. You really are. And I just want to get that out on the record. And no, that's not necessarily the alcohol talking, but just the fact that you and I we have this, you can give as well as get. And I really appreciate that, because I'm one of these kind of people that if I'm leaving you alone, you probably want to find out why. So yeah, I really appreciate you, Paul. I just want to go out on the record and say that. And again, that's not necessarily the alcohol talking.
Yeah, well, the same here. I had a lot of respect for what you were doing before I emailed you to see if I could help, and that's why I did that. But, Neil, and you know, too, that the Newsline family, we're all like a weird dysfunctional group that just, we agreed that if we could all be in a physical office, we are all the people we would want to work with.
Exactly. And you said it right. It is a family. I got involved with it in 95, right after I got licensed, when our Young Ham of the Year winner from 93, introduced me to Bill, and Bill was like, "Oh, you're in radio? Oh, well, have I got a golden opportunity for you?" And so the ink hadn't even dried on my license before I was involved with Amateur Radio Newsline, which was cool to me, because as soon as I bought that HTX 202 for myself for my birthday in 1994 in September, when I was studying for my license, and then ended up, a couple of months later taking the test, I discovered Newsline on the local repeater, and I thought, well, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And, to be involved in that and to have kind of grown up as a ham, with having Bill Pasternak as the weird uncle mentor kind of a deal, and I loved that man. I mean, like a brother or an older brother or uncle or whatever. I mean, there's not a day goes by that, just like with my parents, my dad died in 91, my mother in 95. And then Bill 7 years ago, and those three people, there's not a day goes by that I don't need to pick up the phone and call them and ask them something. And Bill is right there in that group.
Yep, I agree. And I really wish I had the opportunity to meet Bill, but I have never, in any of the public appearances we've done, heard anybody say anything but wonderful things about Bill.
Oh, you won't hear a bad thing, period. You just never will. I haven't in 25, 26 years or whatever of being in this. No, I've never heard a bad thing.
Yep.
Just the best.
Yep.
Well, Paul, thanks so much for calling in and bringing the show to a new low.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we appreciate that.
You got to go with your strengths, and that's mine.
Yeah, there you
go.
So nowhere to go but up. Get Askins on the horn.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it, Paul. I appreciate you, man. I really do.
I brought it to a certain low, but then Mike's got the capacity to take it even lower. So
yeah, he really does. Yeah. Well, yeah. Mike, listen, right. Mike was on QVC for a while in home shopping, so yeah, I have to ask him about that.
Oh, he was really.
Yeah, he was he had a weekly deal where they would send him product or whatever to review, and he would spend like an hour or two on camera from his studio there in Oklahoma talking about whatever product it was that they sent him. Yeah, he's a home shopping star, that boy.
Oh, well,
you didn't know that, did you?
No, we have a little in common then, because my wife,
you've bought a lot of crap from home shopping.
When my wife and I had a stained glass studio at one point, and when QVC did that 50 and 50 thing where they traveled around the country and looked for, local people's stuff. When they came to Indiana, we were actually on, and we had a stained glass piece we did that they sold.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah, I'll sign autographs for you if you want.
No, that's fine.
All right.
I'm good.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
See ya.
Paul Brown, WD9
There you
GCO
go,
from
folks.
Valparaiso.
Not a moment too soon.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, we've got another call on the line. Let's see. Let's do it. Good evening. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Well, hello, Neil. It's Skeeter in 5ASH. And Don, how are you?
There's another one. There's another
one.
old radio dude. Hey, Skeeter.
Hey, guys. Listen. When I saw Don
Live
was the
from
guest
the old
tonight,
disc jockey's retirement home.
well, also known as the Kenworth T680 in my case.
There you go.
So, just when I saw that Neil, when I saw that Don was going to be on tonight, I thought, well, maybe I better call in just to offer balance to the program.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, a little touch of sanity.
Well, now I'm not going to go that far, but But, I heard you guys talking earlier about, Ham Nation hitting over 500 episodes and what could have possibly been the end of it, at the end of this last year and the rebirth, thanks to Josh and the continuance of it. And it just kind of, the word that came to my mind was commitment. Because again, just like Amateur Radio Newsline, it's a volunteer situation. It's people that love this hobby, love sharing this hobby, and the ink was barely dry on my license when Ham Nation came on. I got licensed at the end of November of 2010, and so I'm just on fire for ham radio. I'm trying to absorb everything I can on the subject and learn as much as I can, because I actually wanted to become a ham, kind of like Don, when I was like 13 years old, but the circumstances just weren't right. There were family situations going on and stuff I won't go into, but it just was not the time for me to do it. I did not have the time to learn the code, nobody to study it with, so it just kind of went by the wayside. And then I went off and got interested in other things when I was in junior high and then high school. But so Ham Nation comes along, and I knew about Bob Heil through his work with The Who, and The Who is one of my favorite bands of all time, and so I knew the name Heil Sound, and I knew that Bob was involved with their sound and their productions back in the day. And so when I saw this show coming on, I thought, man, I gotta watch this. It's another thing I can use to keep learning about ham radio. And lo and behold, it was everything I'd hoped it would be, and then it grew and kept improving and growing, and the production values got even better, and the guests got cooler and more interesting, and and like you said, here it is, 500 episodes later, and I am even in one of the episodes of Ham Nation briefly. I mean, I was sitting in Bob's shack. I just happened to be in the Springfield area when he was living in the Ozarks still, and I got a hold of him just to see, hey, can we go out to lunch or dinner? Are you in the area? And he told me he was, and so we wound up going out to dinner, but then he invited me to come into the shack at his house there and participate in the program that night. And it's the episode from Dayton to Visalia, I think is the title of it. Anyway, it's on my QRZ page. I've got a link there. But that was so great to actually see Bob's shack in person. I mean, that's a serious Radio Shack right there.
Yeah, I need to get up there and shit. I've never been to Bob's place, but that wasn't the first time you were on. When we brought you in to Amateur Radio Newsline, you cut a little video piece on how you produced Newsline, and we played that on Ham Nation too. So
that's right. That came before that. That is true.
That came before that, right?
Texas when I put that together. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and just like linking them together, Newsline, again, all volunteers, all people who love the hobby, and again, we also hit a crossroads when Bill passed away and became a silent key. But there was a commitment there. We've got to keep this going. and we've got to find the people that we need, because Bill, as you've said often, Don, Bill was a one-man show as far as writing and submitting and soliciting the reporters to do their bits and the anchors to do their jobs. And so, I didn't have a very long time to get to know Bill, but we did have several conversations over the few years that from the time I started with Newsline, which really started with me just filing an audio report regarding a special event station that our club in Northeast Arkansas, the Northeast Arkansas Radio Club, was putting on in honor of Johnny Cash's birthday. And when I sent him the press release, and he got back to me and said, "Hey, you're a radio guy, you're an on-air guy. Why don't you just, I'll write the script, you record it, and send it." So, okay. And then we got on the subject of anchoring, and as Don has said in the past many times, Bill was a guy you couldn't say no to, and I was thrilled. I wanted to anchor. I kind of offered my services and said, "Look, I'd like to dip my toe into this and see if I can anchor this newscast." And so, from there it went on, and then we teamed up with Karen Eve Murray. God bless her. She picked up the mantle and ran with it, and we've had lots of conversations. I've kind of helped her because she wrote for so long for newspapers and magazines, and writing for the eye to read is very different from writing for
completely
the ear
different.
to hear.
Writing for radio and writing for print is completely different. And this bears repeating. We need to repeat this again because we've told this story, at least I have several times. Bill got sick, and I had to take a break from anchoring because I was doing night classes for real estate back during that time, and you had kind of taken over running things while Bill was in the hospital. And then I remember my phone rang one night, and it was you and Bill, and you brought me in together on a conference call, and it was like we were talking about the people, like we had gotten these emails, and I think you were the one who mentioned Karen Eve Murray, and you were going down her resume, and all I could hear was Bill, and his voice was kind of frail at the time. All I heard was hire her, hire her, hire her, hire her. Hire her. And so, okay, we'll do that. And it was like, I want to say it was the next day or the next day or two after that Bill had passed. And it was like a punch to the gut. But that last time I talked to Bill was that night with the three of us on the phone, and I will never forget that. Never forget that.
That was a pretty amazing situation. And she came with great credentials and great experience. Yeah. And a love of the hobby, just like all the rest of us. And so she, we worked with her and showed her some of the past scripts and how they went. But the interesting thing was the way that she came our way was I had kind of put the word out in various ham radio circles. Hey, because we knew, I think we all pretty much knew that Bill was not going to be able to come back and do the job again. I mean, he made it pretty clear that he was not at all going to be able to pick it up. Yeah. So I knew we had to put the word out. And so we got several responses from people who, I'd like to be part of Newsline and stuff. In fact, it was kind of overwhelming. And if anybody's listening that I did not get back to on that, please, 1,000 pardons. I apologize. It was just a bit overwhelming. It was like putting a job listing out there and having 1,000 resumes come into you all of a sudden. It wasn't quite that many, but it was a lot. And so hers was among those. And so we did, quote unquote, hire her, even though nobody's getting paid anything.
Right. Yeah.
But she
has really come into her own. I mean, she went from being from thinking, okay, well, maybe I can help a little bit, to all of a sudden Bill dying, and we're like, okay, you're the new Bill. And it was,
we need a script, and you're the best one to write it.
But she jumped right in the big middle of it, and it was like the ultimate on-the-job training. She learned how to, okay, you got to have these blocks have to be 10 minutes long. They can't go over. And then I think it was my idea to shorten it from 3 segments to 2, just to make things a little bit easier and streamline things a little bit, because there were a lot of stories that Bill had that were radio related, but not necessarily amateur radio related. And I thought, we could probably do some streamlining a little bit, and that's kind of what we did. And so now we're a 20-minute ish show instead of a 30-minute ish show. And yeah, I just the people who came in after Bill passed away just absolutely saved Newsline. Oh, with the exception of Paul Brown. But
no, well, there's one in every bunch. But to that end, a lot of the people that did, step up, raise their hand, and say, "Hey, can I be part of it?" Several of them, like you and I, had broadcast radio careers or television careers, and were licensed hams. And what we wound up doing, when Bill wrote the scripts, they were very anchor centric. The anchor carried the most of the heavy lifting of reading the stories, and we'd have a few. What we would call in the business actualities or reports from other voices mixed in from time to time. But when Karen E. Murray took over and you and I kind of started working with her and working on the newscast itself, we started to realize, hey, we've got a lot of voices out there, and not just here in the U.S., but around the world. Let's utilize them. Let's truly make this sound like from around the world, which is the opening line of the newscast. It truly does over the last, however many years we've been doing this now without Bill. It truly does sound like it's coming in from around the world, and I think that is just the coolest thing.
And Bill
Neil,
always patterned after spot radio news. Okay, that was how he patterned Newsline and everything else. And I think now it's more like 60 Minutes, where the story is the main thing, and you have an anchor or whatever who just introduces the story, and it's actually the story and the actuality that makes it. And so I think the flow is really good. I like how Newsline has changed. I really do.
Yeah,
and speaking of 60 Minutes,
dinner or something.
Yeah, I know we're way over time.
We're already over time. So Skeeter, it's great to hear from you, but we're going to have to move it along here. We got a couple of other things we got to do real quick here before we sign off. So
7-3, everybody, 7-3.
7-3, Skeeter. Take care. Be careful out there.
Bye-bye. Another good one right there.
Bye-bye. Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, I wish we had time to take more. Oh, then here's another call coming in. Wish we had time to take some more calls, but we're already over our 45 minutes here. So I did say one thing. I had like two or three other things we were going to talk about, but as usual, throw the script out the window. But I wanted to just have you mention a couple of minutes here on the Young Ham of the Year award ceremony that kind of changed due to COVID, and so tell us a little bit about how that went, and then we'll read some comments and sign off.
Well, I thought it went well. I was like, how can we do this, since the board, the Young Ham of the Year awards committee, decided not to do it live at Huntsville, which I did not agree with at first, but it actually, it turned out to be and that was before the Delta variant really hit, and then when that really got cranked up, and it was the right decision. It really was, and they're much brighter people than I am or I'll ever be. But we took it over to Tom Medlin's platform, and he jumped at it. I figured that would be the easiest way to do it. Tom's been a big friend of Amateur Radio Newsline and always broadcast live from Huntsville, the Young Ham of the Year award. And so we did it there. We did it live on Tom Medlin's Amateur Radio Roundtable, and it went really well. And I want to thank Tom again for giving us the platform and the time, and the production value there to do that. But, I cannot wait to get back to a ham fest. It's been almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in January that I've been to a ham fest. And I missed last week's show where you had the two Michaels and Mark from Dayton, from Orlando, and from Huntsville. And I've got to go back and listen to that. I've met Michael Cawley. I've not been to the Orlando Hamcation. Michael Coulter, I think, is the greatest guy in the world, and I absolutely love Mark Brown. He's a huge friend of Amateur Radio Newsline, and helps us out tremendously with our presentation at the Huntsville Ham Fest. So I want to thank Mark for everything that he's done for us, and we're gonna call Huntsville home for as long as they'll have us. So I can't wait to go back and listen to that episode. But yeah, I can't wait to get back to a Hamfest. That's where this award needs to be presented, is in front of people.
Yeah, I'm ready as well. So, all right, well, let's run down a few of the typers here. Let's make sure we get them in. Troy W9KVR says just rolled in from a park, put 16 in the log as W9GRS/9, which reminds me it's
nice
school club roundup week. So that's going to end tomorrow. So if you haven't been on to talk to the kids, a lot of schools are not on because of COVID, but there are several that are on. So give them a call and to see how they're doing. Chris A4CB says hello everyone, and Troy says missed K9 SOU being around. Not at K9 SOU this year, so kind of sad not to have them on, but COVID's kind of stopping that process, so hopefully they can get back on the air. And Askins says the request line is hot tonight. Tried to call, but the screener kept telling him, "No, not you." So that must have been the.
We need to get Mike on sometime.
Yeah, we do.
We could just do a whole show about Amateur Radio Newsline and have the anchor, have the voices of Newsline. I think that'd be a great idea. We'll have to do that sometime.
Yep, sounds like a plan. Well, we had some other things that we can talk about, but we'll just have to talk about them later. So I'm not going to keep everybody here too much longer. So thanks, Don, for coming on, and we'll talk again soon.
Well, I'm glad you hit. I'm glad that I was able to come on, and that your misfortune of not having a guest turned out to be a really good thing. So I'm glad that I'm glad I was your last chance go to, and it turned out good. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
All right, Don. Well, thanks so much. That is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to John Wilbanks, AE5DW, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and calling in and typing in. And come back next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. For a list of our upcoming guests, go to hamtalklive.com. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.
Well, you came right back to my CQ call. Your readability 5 and strength 9. You never once mentioned your weather